Alright, Lego is back with another short project. This is my 12th shadow project if I recall correctly, and if I can count. And this time I'm tackling Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. Here we have Edward Kenway in all his glory, and I started a manual trace right away because, as we all know by now, if you try to auto trace this, it's going to give you a lot of noise. There's a lot of textures, there's a lot of different color values, different light levels, and all sorts of stuff. Even though there's no background here to interfere, I would never get a clean silhouette with anything other than a manual trace. So that's what I did. I took the whole thing minus the actual blade here because I suspect I'm going to want to do some color work on that separately, and that's just easier if it's a separate object. So taking the fingers here, going around. When you zoom in on a character like this, you don't really appreciate how many bumps and curves and edges and all sorts of small random stuff appears on their body. The silhouette is a lot more complex than you take for granted when you just look at the whole thing. But nonetheless, it's not too complicated here. I have been lucky enough to have a clean, nice image to work from the start, so I have everything I need. So it's just up to me to do the manual work here and just trace it up. Now, the overall impression I got from this piece was I wanted to see if I could do some two-tone coloring is not the right word because there's no real two-color color scheme I'm working off with here. But I wanted to try and see if I could trace certain iconic elements from the suit, from his outfit, place it onto the shadow, and have that be a sort of real what's the word in English? Like a sort of contrasting element to the main silhouette. And you'll see what I mean by that in a moment here. Now I have the main thing traced. I just did the blade now separately, so I have this as a separate object. And now I'm making some of the negative spaces for the cutouts. So one of his, actually both of his swords have the handles and the finger guards, hand guards. Need to cut those out. But once that's done, we have the basic silhouette. And that's well and good. That's practically speaking the hard part. Now, here's what I'm talking about. You can't really have an assassin without the hood, and you can't really have a hood in silhouette form. At least it doesn't look right, or it doesn't look as good as it could be at any rate. So what I'm trying here is I'm trying to take some contrasting elements and using the outline, place that onto the actual silhouette and see at what level and with what effects can I actually make this work as a work of detail, giving some contrast and just setting the tone for how you should perceive this character, placing the iconic features back onto the silhouette just enough that you know they're there, and just to give a hint of what's going on with the silhouette, because especially his left arm is not really doing a lot of good for the silhouette format. It's not really clear what's going on there. You don't really know what his hand position is. You don't really know how his forearm is what's going on over there. It's not a good silhouette position. But with this, hopefully, I'm going to mitigate that and give your brain a sense of direction and a sense of what's happening without breaking the minimalist approach here. So I knew I wanted to do the guns, and I'm doing the overside, like to just simplify the maybe there's a hint of a small beam of sunlight hitting the guns or something like that to just highlight the top of the silhouette there. And I really need, strictly speaking, his fingers for this. But first I tried to do the same thing I did with the shadow project in Tomb Raider 2013, where I cut out a little bit of her elbow to give the illusion of a bent elbow. I couldn't do that here, it was too narrow. So instead I made the fingers, and with the right contours, that's gonna look pretty okay. Now I don't know if you caught it. It'll come again right there. I'm still getting crash issues, even though I downgraded from 1.4 to 1.3.2, which should be the stable release of Inkscape. Alas, it doesn't appear to be the case. I thought this would be a compromise between the actual newest features and a stable program, but it appears to not be the case. So after this, I am for real switching back to 1.2.2. I don't want any crashes when I'm doing effects. I do a lot of effects and I do a lot of live paths, and I don't want to walk on eggshells every time I do that. Now, moving on here, I don't know if you caught it. It went a little bit fast, but what I am trying to do for the no, wait, hold on. I'm still doing silhouettes. Never mind. Basic power strokes on those, making them look pretty good. Another crash right there. I don't know if you caught it earlier when I took some extra stuff from the bottom pistol and took it up to the top. That's because if you look closely at the top pistol there, it doesn't have a pan. I don't know what's going on there. It could be something missing by the developers, or it could be me missing some historical feature, but that top pistol doesn't look like it's capable of firing because it has the hammer, but it doesn't have the pan. So I copied the pan from the bottom and just added that up to the top so it looks complete. I have no idea what was going on there. I think it's just a technical error on the part of the artists that originally made this. But anyway, here we are. I am looking at the blade right now, and I thought the easiest way to give it that nice, clean, sharp edge was to make a clip group. There are other ways, of course, but I just decided I didn't want to be fuss about with the small objects. I just wanted big, nice objects to work with, and I made a clip group. And I mean, there's not a lot to it. Just two small objects on either side of the blade, different gradients that gives it some depth and just gives it that shine that it required. Now at this stage, we're moving on to the background in order to have the frame, the boundary, so that we can do our text. And the text is, I think it's the first time I'm showing this in public, at least outside of the community. But this is going to be a little taste of Runic Gallifreyan, which is a pretty nice script for short phrases. Not good for longer text, but small stuff, and it looks quite elegant. It has that calligraphic style to it, almost like some Japanese characters or something. And I helped make this script, so I should know it inside and out. Yet I still have the guide on hand on the right side because I haven't really used it a lot, and I just really want to do this right. Turns out I didn't do it right. I did make one mistake, and I went back the later that day and fixed it. But let's see if you can spot this as I go. I am making just 2 words here. I'm just writing out his name, and there's not a lot. There's not a lot to it. Otherwise, it's it just seemed like it fit. Like if I used skeleton Sherman for this, it would feel a little bit too polished, a little bit too nice and straight and clean, and it didn't really fit for this Caribbean pirate captain. So I took a bit of a more swirly, bit more interesting script to really settle his name. Really happy otherwise with the composition there. It just worked out very well for me. I had a perfect amount of space, and I made a good judgment on the size of the elements. So I'm really happy with that. Now I am setting up some smoke here because I thought first of all that I needed to disguise the bottom of his silhouette, which is just a flat ending like because the character, the picture has no legs, so I needed to disguise that. Was my thought, but then I realized, of course, I'm going to have a black background, so that really I don't really need the clouds, so I moved those away, and instead just had a little bit of highlight for the text itself. I'm using a mesh gradient for the background here because that gives me a lot of control over the position and placement of the light. Not a lot else to it. And then I am tentatively deciding on a golden style for the text. At the moment, it's a bit bright, so I'm putting it down a little bit so it doesn't stand out too much. I don't want it in your face, but at the same time, I do want the contrast between the very dark backgrounds, and there's a nice little dichotomy of the gold and the silver back behind him because I changed this to white. It didn't really see, like it seemed nice enough with the red, but at the same time, once I did this, I could put some red down by his hidden blade, and that actually worked even better. Now, at the last minute, I tried adding the logo, and it didn't really fit. It didn't really. My boundary was not meant to take that extra bit, so I just put it away and said this was it. Nice, clean, simple logo, nice, clean, simple silhouette, and nice, clean text. I quite like it, and it's nice to showcase a bit of Runic Gallifreyan as well. So that's it. That's what I had. Thank you for watching, and bye.